The CCCR, or Centre for Creative and Cultural Research, investigates the ancient, innovative relationship between social culture and creative production. Based in the Faculty of Arts and Design at the University of Canberra, we generate scholarship and artwork in a wide array of humanities, social science, applied and creative disciplines. You are listening to a fresh presentation from the CCCR's Culture and Creativity Seminar Series. The presentation was delivered with slides. To view those slides, or to learn more about the Centre's work, please follow the links in the program notes. This podcast was recorded on the unceded lands of the Ngunnawal and Ngambri peoples.
Well, welcome everybody. We might make a start. Thanks very much for joining us. And I'd like to, of course, acknowledge Ngunnawal country and pay my respects to elders past and present, and extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander colleagues. And we're so lucky here at UC to have a vibrant First Nations group of researchers to collaborate, who are very generous and collaborative, which makes this one of the things that makes it a special place. But another thing that makes this a special place is our speaker today, Sharpay Qiong Wu, who is a wonderful PhD candidate here in the faculty, and she has a diverse academic background in commerce and cultural studies, and she studied at both UC and the ANU. And she's now researching Chinese animation production through the lens of creative and cultural industries. And her research seeks to understand how popular culture and creative practice in China have been shaped by central government policies, which is a fascinating question, as well as, of course, through other cultural, social, and economic factors. And her research addresses these very vigorous discussions in Chinese culture today surrounding creative industries, digital cultures, soft power, and cultural nationalism. So Sharpay, as I said, is a highly valued member of the research community here, who contributes not only to areas of Asian studies, but has also contributed to two of the ARC projects that I lead, Everyday Heritage and Nuclear Nation, which makes me very lucky. And so Sharpay, take the stage.
Well, thank you, Tracy, for the kind introduction, and thank you everyone for coming to this CCCR seminar. I'd like to begin by acknowledge the number of people who are the traditional custodians of the land on which we are meeting today, and pay my respects to the elders past and present. Okay. So my research interest lies in Chinese animation production and cultural policy, and examined through the lens of cultural and creative industries. And today's seminar is very much about Chinese animation. So as we have so diverse audience today as well, and some of you may have never watched Chinese animation, so I'd like to begin by introducing the historical background first. So from the past to present, the development of Chinese animation has been closely linked to national interests. So before the economic reform in 1978, animation production in China was highly centralized, with the Shanghai Animation Film Studio serving the dominant state-run studio. Because I think we have some Chinese colleagues here today. Has any of you watched any animation made by Shanghai? Yes. And which one do you like the best? So what's the name? Oh, Naja. Yes. Anyone else? Yes. Oh, these ones, that one isn't it? These one. Great. Yes, I agree that SAFS spent decades exploring the use of traditional aesthetics as the way of representing Chinese culture. And scholars have described these distinctive aesthetics developed by the SAFS as a nationalist style, typically characterized by the adaptation of traditional art forms, such as ink, brush painting, and puppetry, as well as the incorporation of traditional folk tales, classical literature, and proverbs. And these films are commonly referred to as 美术片 from films. So in the late 1980s marked the final golden age of SAFS. So with the growing emphasis on marketization in the early 2000s, the government began to promote through its cultural policies the cultural and creative industries. And this encouraged the expansions of cultural economy and facilitate increased cultural consumption. And these changes not only transformed SAF's business model, but also led to the emergence of new animation studios in the market. And more importantly, they signaled a broader shift in Chinese animation production from fine art films to commercial animation. And this provides a context for the understanding. So more recently, in 2017, the Chinese Ministry of Culture and Tourism released a cultural policy emphasizing the development of digital culture industries. So the animation industry was identified as a key sector to be prioritized. So this guideline broadly encouraged cultural and creative workers to draw on excellent national cultural resources to tell China's stories well, and to promote the Chinese spirit with the aim of enhancing the overall quality of Chinese digital cultural industries and their capacity to compete in the international markets. But what does it mean? So one interpretation is that this policy promotes a shared cultural participation as a means of constructing national identity. So at both the top-down and bottom-up levels, individuals and institutions and animation studios are expected to participate in national cultural production. In this sense, cultural participation becomes a key mechanism for nation building. And this perspective aligns with theory of cultural nationalism and concept of imagined community. So in which a shared sense of belonging is produced through collective cultural practices. In 1983, Benedict Anderson introduced the concept of imagined community. And he argues that national identity is constructed through shared cultural participation, particularly enabled by print capitalism. However, younger generations today now increasingly less engaged with print media, right? And that's why in response, the Chinese government wants to invest significant efforts in developing digital culture industries. And more importantly, this shift suggests that the consumption of nationalism is also changing from reading the printed forms of national narrative to engaging with and practicing digital forms of nationalism. So the growing numbers of scholars have focused on how nationalism is practiced in the emerging digital world. So extending the idea of Anderson, cultural participation in the digital era is distinctive because it is accessible to ordinary people, whether they participate in state-led or community-level nationalist movements. And nationalism on digital platforms such as social media allows broader participation. It's expressed in fragmented and polarized ways and becomes commercialized, encouraging media consumption. So extending the focus on everyday practice to social media, Vico suggests that nationalism is embodied through the act of doing nation, which manifests in daily discursive communication. And Vico argues that, quote, the nation becomes alive through everyday communication practices and exists only as long as it is performed, end quote. So in the Chinese digital context, previous scholarship has explored the factors that influence the practice and expressions of Chinese nationalism on the internet. Terms such as online nationalism, cyber nationalism, techno-nationalism, and digital nationalism are all encountered in the relevant literature. Schneider demonstrates that these terms are often used interchangeably to describe nationalist sentiment generated from online nationalist movements, especially in the Chinese context. But Schneider also cautions that it is important to identify the various actors, including the state government, the different digital platforms, and even algorithms. And this means digital nationalism is complicated by the platforms themselves and their affordance and interface design, as well as by internal and external stakeholders and actors. And previous research have also explored the extent to which Chinese people on the internet accept or reject state-led nationalist sentiment. For example, drawing on comments on a pro-government Xinlang Weibo, it's a very popular Chinese microblogging platform. So Zhang explores the user's strategy to celebrate the Chinese National Day on the 1st October 2019. And Zhang argues that the state's patriotic education and promotion of mass media contribute to the development of digital nationalist sentiment among Chinese Xinlang Weibo users. However, also focus on the online discourse on Xinlang Weibo. Chen examined the case studies made by Chinese diplomats and their Weibo accounts, and argues that there are different levels of acceptance of nationalist discourse from the Xinlang Weibo users, as some of them did not buy into the speech of the Chinese diplomats. And these findings suggest that Chinese digital social media users incorporate state-led digital nationalism to their individual practices to varying degrees, depending on the specific themes of the post or the online activity. So collective online participation in nationalist movement on social media is shaped by emotions and sentiment. For example, research has revealed that young internet users aggressively explore their digital identities socially and politically, leading to public criticism on their nationalist practice as negative and extremist. Scholars describe emotions such as disgust and anger shown by this particular group of online participants known as Fenqing, angry youth. Yang and Zheng suggest that these forms of nationalism emerge on digital platforms through grassroots cyber attack events. One notable example is the 6-9 Holy War, which took place on Baidu Tieba, an online discussion forum in 2010. And this event involved a conflict between a gaming fandom community, particularly players of War of Warcraft, and a fandom of Super Junior, a South Korean pop idol group. And the conflict was closely tied to the rise of anti-Korean sentiment. So in the other cyber attack events, scholars observed that angry youth asserted criticism towards political and social affairs, while they also addressed their love for the nation. And they brand themselves as nationalists, but public opinion labeled this activity as extreme. And this also leads to a discussion on the coexistence of state-led nationalism and popular nationalism, like allowing young individuals to express themselves differently on social media from the state-led nationalist discourse. And some internet users who are involved in nationalist movements do not consider themselves to have a strong political identity. And scholarly discussions about youth identity in the digital sphere demonstrate a complex process of how young people describe their political and social consciousness towards nationalist movements. And these studies on digital nationalism have inspired me to examine Chinese animation and its fandom community. Are these audiences participating in the form of digital nationalism? If so, how? To explore these questions, I propose focusing on the platform called Bilibili, where many Chinese animations are streamed and viewed. So in the context of Chinese animation, video streaming platforms play a crucial role in animation's circulations and dissemination. In addition, I have analyzed users' comments on Bilibili, particularly the Danmu comments. So Bilibili, a video streaming platform, has formed a unique animated comics and games subculture, and we usually call it ACG subculture. So allowing fans to collectively engage with popular subculture content. So Bilibili was created as a platform to exhibit Japanese animation and videos when the website was established in the early 2010s. And recently, with the growth of ACG community on Bilibili, more videos related to Chinese ACG culture has been shared on the video. And Bilibili still plays an important role in Chinese animation streaming for young people. Bilibili has a very strict membership system as well. To become a formal members and enjoy more benefits, such as posting Danmu comments, temporary members need to pass a 100-question exam. And to take advantages of this strong youth consumption, many Chinese animation studios choose Bilibili as their primary partner to distribute their work. And the Danmu commentary system is a unique feature of Bilibili. Was inspired by the Japanese video streaming platform called Nico Nico. So unlike the traditional comments located at the bottom, so Bilibili Danmus are overlaid on the video, so fading from the right to the left immediately after they are typed in the chat box. An audience watch videos on Bilibili accompanied by Danmu commentary, and these efforts adds the experience and entertainment value of the engagement. And it is very popular among ACG fans. And of course, those Danmu comments are user-generated. Previous scholarship has examined how user-generated content in Bilibili comments facilitate communications between like-minded peers. Jenkins, Ito, and Board characterize the participatory culture on such platforms as driven by shared interest and experience. This is also a process of knowledge exchange through demo comments that allows individuals to contribute to video interpretation. More importantly, it builds a new form of communication and social practice on Bilibili, extending the understanding of participatory culture. And this user-generated knowledge sharing in Bilibili Danmu Commentaries has thus become a unique feature and attraction of digital Bilibili culture. So the function of the Danmu commenting system enables users to change the settings of Danmu to react to the video. And for example, you can post comments with colors. You can change the size of the font. And this is undoubtedly for entertaining purpose, but it also cultivates a shared visual expressions of culture, like which potentially contribute to the analysis of explicit and implied sentiments without the text itself. And depending on the content of each video, the level of familiarity with Danmu culture, Bilibili users are also able to enact their digital identity through the manipulation of language in their comments. So understanding the language regarding formation of fans' self-constructed identities in the digital era. The emotions and effects of shared language in Danmu commentary facilitate a collective identity for the fandom community. The potential association between emotions and language also suggests that there is an approach to examine not only the connotation of the text, but also the tone that demonstrates the emotions. So the preceding discussion focused on how Danmu commentaries are the form of social practice. However, the majority of them focus on ACG, Bilibili, and fandom culture broadly. And my research, however, proposed to provide insights that can be applied to the study of Chinese animation to explore emerging forms of digital culture and digital nationalism. And furthermore, positioned within the multidisciplinary research on media, linguistics, and culture, my research considers how Danmu studies can contribute to our understanding of Chinese contemporary digital culture, encompassing both top-down and bottom-up practices that enact the imagined community of the nation. So my key research question is, how do user-generated Danmu commentaries create a sense of belonging and imagined community? So the argument is that these Danmu commentaries provide examples of how audience members participate in doing nation through their everyday engagement and consumption of these media. The responses shared in Danmu comments constitute a form of digital nationalism, shaped partially by the value and interests of the Chinese state, but also by grassroots expressions of imagined community, cultural identity, and a sense of belonging. And I want to emphasize that I do not aim to generalize these case studies and their data. Instead, I conduct qualitative digital ethnography research on the content and the meaning of the commentaries and the sentiments expressed, and to understand more about the everyday practice of nationalism within the specific Bilibili community context. I examined 2 videos available to be watched on Bilibili by the general public without requiring Bilibili membership. And both videos present distinctive aspects of nationalist contents in different ways. So the first video, Hare, it was selected because of its political and historical topic. Hare was originally a comic series, and an animated version was created in 2015 and directed by Lin Chao. It is a popular Chinese animation that is not distributed to the central or local TV stations, but can be watched on 9 video streaming platforms in China, including Bilibili. Hare is centrally concerned with key events in Chinese history, and its themes is inbred by the Chinese state. And according to Gran and Hu, quote, Hare successfully integrates the subcultures of Chinese youth into the key thematic framework of the official patriotic discourses, or a form to reverse perspective, brings dominant ideology into a subcultural space through innovative expressions and articulations, end quote. And this means Hare not only can be seen an animation that amplifies nationalism, more importantly, allowing subcultural group to explore nationalism through digital practice. So in particular, the episode 6 from the season 1, it's quite popular among the other episodes because these episodes describes a historical event in 1955. When China and the United States had a negotiation in terms of the issues relating to the repatriation of nationals from both countries and the political affairs in the Taiwan region. And because of the negotiation, Many Chinese scholars and scientists got the chance to get back to China and work on the National Nuclear Weapons Self-Developing Program. The animation producer revisit history and recreate digital animation storytelling to contemporary Chinese audiences. And for those who are not familiar, in this animation, each country is represented by an animal. So here, China is represented by rabbits, and America represented by eagles. So by contrast, the second video is the trailer of Yao-Chinese Folktales and produced by Shanghai Animation Film Studio in 2023 and released on Bilibili, which aims to introduce folk stories of Chinese Yao monsters and mythical creatures. So rather than the political and the historical stories. And I have introduced the nationalism style in the beginning, so you can guess what is included in this animation. And for example, this episode, Guru's Mountain, adapt the traditional ink brush painting in animated form to preserve and reimagine the aesthetics of traditional Chinese culture. Yao-Chinese Folktales thus offers an opportunity to explore how this audience enacts to the distinctive Chinese nationalist style in animation creation and how it is linked to national identity and appreciation of Chinese culture. So data from two videos featuring Danmu Comments were collected and screen recorded for visual test analysis on 21st August 2025. And commentaries were accessed and able to copy from the web interface into an Excel spreadsheet for analysis. And a total of 1,200 comments were gathered from negotiation and Martian Eggs, which is the episode 6. And 600 comments were collected from the trailer of Yao-Chinese Folktales. And here are the examples of the thematic coding. So the main finding is that there are no extremely aggressive nationalist expressions in the Danmu commentary of either video. Instead, the annotation of these nationalist expressions are tongue-in-cheek. So my first example is 摔杯为号. 摔杯为号 is an idiom that literally means giving a signal to do something by throwing a cup on the floor. So it analyzes a situation when people are ready to fight and they break a cup as a signal to launch an attack. And this expression appears in the scenes where the Chinese and American delegates fail to reach an agreement and come close to the physical confrontation. So during their negotiation, a rabbit accidentally breaks the cup, causing everyone to freeze in shock. This unexpected action leads to a more chaotic scene where both sides start throwing objects like pens or pieces of papers or books at each other. And the Danmu commentary of 摔杯为号 shows a more grassroots and satirical attitudes suggested by Danmu comments towards the United States. And this plot is revisit of history with animation producers in reimagination based on their interpretation of the historical fact. So in these scenes in the animation, rabbits takes actions actively as warriors. So breaking the cup, well, even depicted as a coincidence, which resonates with Danmu commenters and inspire them to use a similar form of expression. So these intentions suggest that contemporary Chinese audience do not necessarily viewed and interpreted these negotiations in this plot negatively as a party being coercive coerced by the United States, but rather see the Chinese side as taking an active stance against America in the negotiation. And therefore, the user-generated comments like Sharpay Wei Hao is not only a response to the plot, but also shows their standpoint as a self-confidence to satirize the power relationship between America and making it entertaining and engaging with a sense of nationalist sentiment. And my second example is a funny way of using harmonium to highlight nationalist sentiment. So followed by Sharpay Wei Hao, two parties feel very angry towards each other and realize there could be a war between them. So one rabbit said to one eagle, 你敢动我试试? You can try to launch a war against me, against us if you dare. And the eagle replied, 试试就试试. And here is the translation. So that's the original lines. 试试就试试 means I, of course, dare to try. So let's have a look what Bilibili Danmu comment respond. So Danmu says here, this one, which is here. 试试就试试. So probably you're going to ask me, do they pronounce exactly the same? Yes, they do. But do they refer to the same meaning? No, they don't. So what Danmu addressed here, 试试就试试, literally means if you try, you will die. So in this sense, it means if Americans dare to launch a war against China, they will die. And also to note, the phrase 试试 means to die, to pass away. And Chinese people normally use this phrase in a formal language. So you can see how entertaining the commentaries are. Like very polite, in a very polite way, saying you can die if you dare to launch the war. Yeah, you will die. All right. So the Danmu users use poems to address these intensive sentiments, but in a very funny and entertaining way, as well as very satirical and tongue-in-cheek. And this phrase 试试就试试 that Bilibili users create and later becomes an internet buzzword. So these two examples emphasize that Chinese Bilibili users in this particular group of ACG communities adopt new expressions to highlight their digital identity as they creatively engage with the content. And they know how to use language and cultural knowledge and use them interchangeably and flexibly to satirize a serious international relationship. And at the same time, they emphasize a strong political standpoint that believing their nation's military power over other countries to catch the self-confidence and the nationalist sentiments. However, compared to angry use in their digital practices, these expressions impose the harmonium, creating a nuanced nationalist narrative. Okay, now I want to move to the case of Yao-Chinese folktales. So the emotions and nationalist expressions in this video are slightly different. The commentaries demonstrate the strong pride in cultural identity and the authenticity of Chinese culture and notions of Chineseness, what makes Chinese animation distinctive. So the commentaries address the authenticity of Chineseness through the adaptation of ink brush painting in the animation. Like, for example, these expressions say, the style of ink brush painting is purely an authentic Chinese style. that provides a grassroots understanding of what Chinese aesthetic is. And this distinctive appreciation of Chinese aesthetic is associated with the iconic cultural symbols created by SAFS, a traditional art form directly associated with Chinese culture and highly valued in the artistic realm. And therefore, for the generations who are familiar with animation produced by SAFS, like you guys, the Danmu commentary linked those ink brush painting to their taste and defining the authenticity of the Chinese style. And other Danmu comments echoed this idea of Chinese aesthetics, generating a strong sense of cultural pride. And for example, these two here. So I really love this Chinese vibe approaching towards us, and this approaching Chinese vibe is so beautiful. So the phrase I really love is used to highlight their supportive attitude. And these comments appear when the image shows a fox with the distinct elements of ink brush painting. Therefore, the phrase of Chinese vibe here refers to the ink brush painting. And these commenters believe it is beautiful when animators produce something with a Chinese style. And they not only demonstrate a taste, but also praise the animation producers and express their love for Chinese aesthetics. And therefore, these commentaries show that Chinese Bilibili fans acknowledge the contribution of SAFS in the past and express their expectation to seeing the reproduction of stories about Chinese Yao monster and the distinctive aesthetics. And more importantly, Danmu commenters collectively participate in demonstrate their cultural identity. And this reinforces what Wang and Wick argues, quote, the 2D ink wash effects serve as a visual testament to the enduring spirit of Chinese ink painting animation, embodying the nationalist style through international blank space and the language of absence, unquote. But in the discussion session, what I really want to point out is that Chinese animation does provide us a space to reimagine the interplay between national identity, dominant ideology, and Chinese use. Right, digital nationalism on Bilibili is participated in not only through videos that promote pro-government content, but also through the Danmu commentaries and reactions, extending Anderson's argument on national print language in the digital environment. And Bilibili commentaries offers a chance for people to express their ideas and create their own ways to participate in cultural activities, reinforcing digital nationalism and forming a digital immersion community. Although this process is generally seen as more grassroots and democratic, but the observed Danmu commentaries here from the selected video shows that it intertwines with the state-led discourse. And commentaries on Hare plays a role in explaining or revealing the meanings and nuance behind specific plot lines, interpreting the story through cultural references and user-generated interpretation rather than critiquing the plot. And these Danmu comments reflect collective expressions of national pride and national image in terms similar to these found in the national cultural policies. And the attitude towards Chinese history is explicitly demonstrated through Danmu comments that contribute to feel proud in being Chinese citizen. In comparison, Danmu commentaries in Yao Chinese folktales tend to express nationalist sentiment through the lens of cultural awareness. So it can be shown by the Danmu commentary that audience attitudes towards SAFS. And they're also really concerned about the concept of Chinese aesthetics. So the comments focus on Chinese aesthetics in the animation works and register support for more cultural products that demonstrate this quality for the Chinese market. So rather than directly linked to the patriotic or nationalist discourse, Bilibili users refer to cultural heritage and cultural identity to promote Chinese animation, suggesting that this generates a sense of belonging. And digital platform thus provide a community and space for the public performance of these expressions in the pride in this culture. And both videos shows the creative engagements with mainstream videos that generates sentiments embody how Danmu users feel. So Schneider suggests that repetitively emotionally charged comments influence digital interaction, which allows people to express nationalism as part of their own identity. And more importantly, rather than simply saying that Bilibili Danmu comments embrace or reject the state-led nationalist sentiment, it is worth pointing out the motivation behind making such decisions. And the rationale, arguably, is that Bilibili users interpreted mainstream works for fans for their own cultural purposes and to better express themselves in an entertaining way. And this means that it is the decoding process of the content of their videos where users take in and they have seen on the screen and then translate it into their own language as Danmu commentaries as a way of negotiating their identity on Bilibili. And this coexists with the mainstream nationalist sentiment as Danmu comments on Hare and Yao-Chinese folktales show there is a merging of political and cultural identity expressed through the collective appreciation of Chineseness and the nation building. And Bilibili users become the co-creators or prosumers. So in conclusion, by exploring the test of selected Danmu comments, I suggest that young Chinese internet users integrate the influence of official nationalist sentiments with their own narratives as a form of community constructions on Bilibili and generate their own interpretations of national and cultural identity. So the concept of doing nation is clearly and vividly demonstrated in my research. Although previous research has suggested that animation fans do not seriously engage with political identity, the commentaries observed in my research explicitly express their perspective on Chinese history, politics, and culture. And these expressions in turn contribute to the marriage of the ACG and national identities in this context. And the funding confirms what Yusupova and Ruslan suggest. Nationalism becomes even more engaging and entertaining in the digital age. And this study shows that the bottom-up user-generated form of nationalism incorporates aspects of everyday participation. And this suggests that nationalism can be performed as an everyday online practice, as it is easily accessible to the general public and enable users to construct shared form of community participation from the bottom up. More importantly, Bilibili as a platform plays a mediating role by bridging state actors, users, and other stakeholders through the cultivation of shared interest. So in this sense, Danmu commenting can be understood as an entertaining performance of everyday banal aspect of digital nationalism. Let's stop here. Thank you. References. I really want to show you this because Donald Trump now is in China.
Thank you so much, Sharpay. Wasn't that wonderful? Yeah, your work is really developing so beautifully. And I'm sure there are lots of questions.
Thanks, Sharpay. That was really great. Really fabulous to see some of the detail that you've been working on. I've got 2 questions. My first one is, what are the 100 questions you've got to answer to get onto Bilibili? What kind of things are they asking? And my second question is around what I didn't get a sense there whether there's much tension in the, or diverse forms of debate around what Chineseness means in the comments. So is there a lot of tension and diverse kind of representations of that you kind of have to navigate
In the Danmu.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you, Bethany. I'll start from the first one. So the 100 questions. I don't know, but I think those questions are relevant to the ACG culture. So anime, comics, and games. It could be something about Japanese. It could be something about Chinese. Because I got this membership by invitation, so I don't have to answer that.
There's ways around the system. Okay.
But yes, I think they are relevant to those subcultures.
Okay.
So that's why I consider these ACG communities are really, really focused on what they really loved. And yeah.
Well, that's interesting, the invitation as well, because it's a recognition. Someone's already recognized that you're part of that community. Yes.
So once you enter into that community, you kind of likely actively participate.
Yes, my second question,
Your second,
if I'm allowed.
It's about the debates of diversity in terms of Chineseness shown in the Danmu Commentaries. Yeah, I have more examples. So people comments on the character's appearance, like for example, they will consider whether these big eyes or small eyes are in the best way to represent Chinese people, and as well as the sound.
Okay.
Because the first video that I play is actually Yao-Chinese folktales. So the sound actually is quite Chinese as well. So there are a lot of comments also addressing these aspects.
So they are negotiating it within the comments.
Yes.
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 Great.
Exactly.
Thank
And
you.
I have to say that a lot of comments actually appreciate what SAFS has done for these animated series. And the second season, I think it was released this year, in the beginning of this year. So if without the successful of the season 1, you can't see anything on season 2.
True. Thank you, Sharpay.
Thanks, Sharpay. That was really interesting. First off, I was just wondering about, are the commentators anonymous or are they known? So in terms of surveillance, I suppose I'm thinking about that. That's a particular question. And the other thing that actually reminded me of the interaction when a long time ago, when I think Q&A first came out on ABC, and they had running at the bottom, and it was really powerful and it was great. People could actually watch people's comments on the questions and how people were answering. And that was a very interactive thing. And I was really sorry to see that end, but that just prompted me to think about that as well. But the first question is about anonymity and surveillance at all and people concerned.
Yes, thanks, Alex. The commentaries, they are anonymous. So you are not able to see the personal details such as their usernames, their IP address, their gender, their age. No. So they're all anonymous. Yes.
I thought that was terrific, Sharpay. Thank you very, very much. Thank you very, very much. My takeaway from your talk is to revisit the whole notion of nationalism, because nationalism, from my sort of political stance, is not, it is based on an appropriation by government for political ends. And I get the sense from what you're saying is in China, this is far more complicated and interesting, in the sense that the government has maybe some sort of collective agenda of identity, but people are using the government message and the formats to prosume their own community and their own society. The question is, am I getting it right from what you were talking about?
Because I think nationalism is an umbrella term, right? So it exists in different forms of nationalism, and this one is more like bottom up. So yeah. I think you're right there. The thing is, Chinese government at the moment put a lot of efforts cultivating the patriotic and the nationalist discourse to the younger generation. And a lot of my colleagues from China actually told me, now the younger generation, the younger cohort are even more nationalist than our cohort. I think it is because embedded in this environment, this political and social cultural environment, they have these notions, studies, what China is from their schools and from this patriotic education. And also they create their own interpretation through these cultural products, commercial cultural products.
Yeah.
So I guess it is like mutual effect to each other, and whether you buy in these ideas or not.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
That was fascinating, Sharpay. I loved that. It was great to learn all about Chinese animation. Just a quick question. Are those comments, incoming comments, are they censored?
Censored. Are they censored?
Or yeah, is it moderated and censored, given that there is so much censorship?
Good question.
Yes. Yes, Bilibili has its internal censorship system, so I think it is. And also, the Danmu commentaries regularly be cleaned.
Cleaned.
Yes.
Right.
So the platform will remove the
Yeah.
Danmu commentaries.
Right. Yeah. That's what I was wondering.
I think it's for the data storage, that kind of perspective.
Right.
I also considered like the further research on how can we preserve these Danmu commentaries, right?
Yeah.
As they regularly being cleaned by the platform. I did this research. I did 3 times, like in the data collection. I think I did 3 times, and each time I saw new comments. So I also would like to know more about it, like because Danmu commentaries, they are born digital. Like as a cultural heritage person perspective, they are born digital. And how can we preserve these commentaries? Do they have the values that relevant to any of the heritage frameworks that we are doing at the moment or not?
We have a question online.
What does the mismatch means? Xiaolan?
Yes, so I saw in, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so in Danmu, a lot of people express it's like a real or authentic Chinese style, but actually it's more like architecture rendering. So it's not tradition. It's brought from the Western architecture education and techniques.
Mm,
Mm.
I just want to give more context for this one because this is a trailer of that animated series. So it has 8 episodes, and each episode, not all of these episodes depict the traditional aesthetics. I think this is what you want to ask. Not all of them depict the traditional aesthetics of Chinese animation, like the nationalist style. So they also adapt a lot of creative narrative to talk about the Chinese monsters. So I found the Danmu commentary also addressed that. But what I can feel is there is a lot of there are many debates as well. Like one comment said, this one's not good, and the other comment said, no. It is the Chinese style, blah blah blah. So I think I do observe a lot of that kind of like debates on the demo commentary. So in my interviews, well, this talk, I'm not going to focus too much on my interview, but I also can give more context if you like. In my interviews, my interview participants, they are 9 animation producers based in China. They really critical about the Chinese aesthetics and Chineseness. What does it mean? Hopefully, maybe next CCCR seminar, I can talk about that.
That's great, yes. Yes, stay tuned, everybody. Much more research to come. But please join me in thanking Sharpay for the wonderful webinar. Well done. And best of luck for the rest of your PhD journey, Sharpay.